The memorial bell rang 6 times. With every strike, another piece of my childhood returned. A locked classroom, black glass covering one wall, 3 metal chairs bolted to the floor. A woman's voice asking me to repeat a name that was not mine. And my father standing beneath a white light, telling me something I knew was false. I remembered looking through the glass and saying, "Raven 1 is lying." The memory ended there. I stood inside my father's office with the Franklin Academy yearbook open on the desk. The photograph showed 3 children inside the school library. Anna Voss at 12, an unfamiliar dark-haired boy beside her, and me at 11. Beneath the photograph was a code, Atlas Chilled, Celled 6 below it, Asor R Designation. Raven 6. My mother sat in Dad's chair, looking suddenly older than she had during any hearing, gunfight, or intelligence operation. "What happened in room 6? I asked. "Elena, no." My voice came out sharper than I intended. "You told me you were a school administrator. Then I discovered you were Lantern 1. You told me Dad was only a medic. Then I learned he was Raven 1. Now I find out I was inside Atlas before I joined the army." Marcus Reed stood near the window. General Caldwell remained beside the bookcase. Neither spoke. They knew this conversation belonged to my mother and me, but they also knew none of us had the privilege of calling family secrets private anymore. "Were you always my mother?" I asked. Margaret Hayes looked directly at me. "Yes." "Was Thomas Hayes always my father?" "Yes." "Was Elena Hayes always my name?" "Yes." "Then why was I classified as an Atlas child?" "Because someone placed you in a program that was never supposed to exist." "Who?" "Adrian Voss." Anna became still. "My father?" My mother nodded. "Your father designed the child cell protocol without my authorization." Anna took 1 step toward the desk. "He used me. He used all 3 of you." "Why?" "To test whether children could maintain replacement identities under interrogation." The room became quiet. Noah Bennett, who had entered during the phone-in call, removed his glasses. "You are describing psychological experimentation on minors." "Yes," my mother said. "Authorized by whom?" "No one." "Then why was it conducted inside your school?" "Because I failed to discover it soon enough." I looked again at the photograph. "Who is the boy?" My mother touched his face on the page. "Elias Mercer." "Richard Mercer's son?" "Yes." Richard Mercer, the retired colonel who had seized our farm, destroyed Dad's barn, and helped Victor Kane operate private detention sites. What happened to him? He was placed under another identity after room 6. Where is he now? My mother did not answer immediately. That was when my phone rang. The screen showed no number. I answered. "Elena Hayes." Victor Kane's voice came through the line. "Your mother has finally opened the right yearbook. Where are you?" "Close enough to hear the bell." I looked toward the dark memorial courtyard. "Was room 6 your operation?" "No, Voss imagined it. Ward approved it. I made it useful." Anna reached for the phone. I held up my hand. "What did you do to us?" "I gave 3 frightened children a purpose. You turned children into assets." "Your mother did that when she gave them false names. She protected them." Kane laughed quietly. "Protection is the most successful word in intelligence. It makes control sound compassionate." "What happened after I accused my father?" "You don't remember?" "No." Margaret worked very hard to make certain of that. My mother closed her eyes, Kane continued. "Tomorrow morning, the country will see the recording." "What recording?" "The session in which 11-year-old Elena Hayes identified her own father as a traitor." "You edited it." "That is what unstable witnesses always claim when the evidence becomes inconvenient." "What do you want?" "For the Atlas evidence to be excluded from every pending case." "You cannot erase the facilities we recovered." "No, but I can prove the officer who authenticated the evidence has experienced false memories since childhood." He was not trying to destroy me privately. He was attacking the chain of evidence connected to Ward, Mercer, and the Atlas sites. If he convinced a court that my recollections were manipulated, he could argue that every search based on those recollections was contaminated. 23 recovered witnesses could lose legal protection. Families could be told once again that the truth was unreliable. Where will the recording be shown? I asked. Federal District Court, 10 o'clock. You arranged a hearing overnight? My attorneys believe the government is relying on evidence gathered by a psychologically compromised officer. And the judge agreed. The question should be answered. Kane paused. Come in uniform, Colonel. It makes the fall more memorable. The call ended. I placed the phone on the desk. No one spoke for several seconds, then I turned toward my mother. How did you make me forget? My mother did not deny it. That hurt more than a lie would have. You were 11, she said. After the final Room 6 session, you stopped sleeping. You believed people were listening through the walls. You checked every door 3 times before entering a room. Perhaps because people were listening through the walls. Yes. You told me I had a fever. You did. You told me the school incident was a nightmare. I told you what the medical team advised me to tell you. What medical team? Dr. Evelyn Shaw and 2 trauma specialists. Anna looked at her. My mother treated Elena? Yes. After my father placed us in the program. Evelyn was trying to undo the damage. I moved closer to the desk. Did you drug me? My mother's face tightened. You were given medication for panic attacks and sleep. That was not my question. No medication can erase a memory completely, but it can make someone easier to mislead. Yes. The answer fell between us. She had not removed my memory like deleting a file. She had buried it beneath medication, therapy, and a family story repeated until I accepted it as my own. What story did you give me? That you became ill during a school emergency drill. And Room 6? A fever dream. Raven 1? A character your father invented to entertain you. Raven 6? A nickname Marcus later selected by coincidence. Marcus looked toward the floor. It wasn't coincidence, he said. I turned toward him. You knew? Not until before Silent Lantern. How long before? 3 days. My father ordered you to use a childhood identity as my call sign. Yes, and you never asked why. I did. What did he say? That one day you might need to remember who you were before the army told you who to become. I felt anger moving through me in slow, precise layers. Dad had restored part of my hidden identity without giving me the truth. Marcus had obeyed him. My mother had maintained the cover story. Caldwell had known enough to remain silent. Once again, everyone in the room had decided I functioned better without knowledge of my own life. Did you know? I asked Caldwell. Not about the child program. But you knew Raven 6 existed before my service. I learned after Silent Lantern, and said nothing. Yes, I looked at all of them. You built an entire mythology around my silence. My mother rose. We tried to keep Kane from recognizing what you remembered. He recognized me anyway. Not until you opened Channel 6. He knew my call sign. He believed Thomas had assigned it because of your adult service. And now? Now he knows you were the child who exposed Room 6. I stared at her. I exposed it. My mother looked toward the yearbook. You did not accuse your father because you believed he was a traitor. What did I do? You recognized that he was deliberately lying. Why? He gave you the wrong evacuation phrase. What phrase? Blue Lantern. A flicker passed through my memory, my father's voice. When the blue lantern appears, use the south door. Asterisk, the south door had no handle. Even at 11, I would have noticed. Dad told me to use an impossible exit. Yes, he was testing me. No, my mother's voice softened. He was warning you. About what? That someone outside the authorized team was listening. The memory sharpened. Dad beneath the white light, the black glass, a small red glow in the corner where no camera was supposed to be. What was the correct phrase? Stand when others step back. The words engraved on Dad's watch, the sentence that opened the bunker, the code that had followed me through my entire life. Why did I say Raven 1 was lying? Because Thomas taught you that if he ever gave an impossible route, you were to expose him publicly. It would force the hidden observer to reveal what they knew. Did it work? Yes. Who revealed himself? My mother looked toward the dark phone. Victor Kane. The hearing began at 10 the following morning. Kane did not appear in person. His legal team claimed he remained in protective custody while negotiating surrender terms connected to Helen Ward's prosecution. No federal agency admitted protecting him. No agency admitted it was not. The courtroom was full. Reporters occupied every available seat. Families of recovered Atlas witnesses sat in the first 2 rows. Rebecca Lane was among them, seated beside the father she had recovered after 17 years. Captain Daniel Lane looked older than his official photographs, but he wore a simple blue tie and held his daughter's hand. My mother sat behind Noah's legal table. Marcus attended through secure video because doctors had not cleared him for travel. Naomi Carter sat beside him on the screen. Anna sat near me. General Caldwell remained in the witness gallery. I wore my uniform, not because Kane requested it, because I refused to let him turn shame into another disguise. Kane's attorney, Julian Frost, stood before Judge Evelyn Rourke. Your Honor, the government's recent Atlas investigations were initiated and repeatedly authenticated by Colonel Elena Hayes. That is disputed, Noah said. Frost continued. Colonel Hayes has presented herself as a reliable operational witness. However, newly recovered records show she suffered severe childhood delusions involving the same intelligence program she now claims to have uncovered. The judge looked toward Noah. Does Colonel Hayes deny participating in the Franklin Academy program? No, I said. Noah touched my arm. I continued. I deny that the program was a delusion. Frost smiled. We will allow the recording to speak. A large screen activated. 11-year-old Elena Hayes appeared inside room 6. I wore a blue school sweater and sat in a metal chair with my feet barely touching the floor. Across from me stood Dad. He looked younger, stronger, a man I remembered as invincible. His voice came through the speakers. When the blue lantern appears, use the south door. The child on the screen looked toward the south wall. There was no visible door. She looked back at Dad. That isn't right. Repeat the instruction. The south door doesn't open. Repeat it, Elena. The girl turned toward the black glass. Raven 1 is lying. The recording ended. A quiet murmur moved through the courtroom. Frost faced the judge. The child accused her father, the program's commander, of betrayal. Afterward, she required psychiatric treatment and memory stabilization. My mother closed her eyes, Frost continued. Decades later, she built a military identity around the same childhood fantasy. I stood. Judge Rourke raised a hand. Colonel Hayes, remain seated. Frost returned to his table. The government must determine whether searches, arrests, and witness recoveries resulted from legitimate evidence or from one officer recreating a suppressed childhood narrative. Noah rose. 23 people were physically recovered from facilities connected to Kane's corporations. We do not dispute their existence, Frost said. We dispute the methods used to connect Mr. Kane to every site. You dispute the bank accounts? We dispute the interpretations. The transport manifests? Contaminated by Atlas mythology. The bodies? The room became quiet. Frost looked toward the families. Tragic outcomes do not excuse unreliable investigative conduct. He was skilled. He took real suffering and placed it between Kane and accountability. Then he called his first witness. A 41-year-old man entered wearing a dark suit. He had black hair threaded with gray and a narrow scar beside his right eye. The moment I saw him, I recognized the boy in the yearbook, Elias Mercer. He took the oath. My current legal name is Elias Grant, he said. I serve as general counsel for Kane Strategic Solutions. Anna whispered, he works for Kane. Frost approached him. Were you part of Atlas Child Cell 6? Yes. Did you know Elena Hayes? We were classmates. Did she behave normally? Elias looked toward me. No. A reaction moved through the gallery. How would you describe her? She believed every teacher was testing her. She searched classrooms for cameras. She said her father communicated through coded phrases. Did she accuse Thomas Hayes of being a traitor? Yes. Did her accusation lead to the Room 6 lockdown? Yes. What happened during that lockdown? My mother disappeared. His voice remained controlled, but pain moved beneath it. Who did you blame? Elena. Why? She identified Raven 1. The adults panicked. Victor Kane removed us from the building. I never saw my mother again. Richard Mercer's son had grown up believing my childhood words caused his mother's disappearance. Frost turned toward the judge. Mr. Grant is not asking the court to disregard the Atlas crimes. He is asking the court to recognize that Colonel Hayes has repeated a pattern of accusation since childhood. He faced Elias again. Did Victor Kane protect you after Room 6? Yes. Did he provide your new identity? Yes. Education? Yes. Employment? Yes. Did Colonel Hayes ever contact you? No. I stared at him. Kane had raised him inside the story that I destroyed his family. He had turned another child's grief into loyalty. Noah began cross-examination. Mr. Grant, who told you Elena's accusation caused the lockdown? Victor Kane. Who told you your mother disappeared afterward? Victor Kane. Who arranged your identity? Victor Kane. Who paid for your education? Kane Strategic Foundation. Who currently employs you? Kane Strategic Solutions. Elias's expression hardened. You are suggesting I was purchased. I am suggesting every fact you know about Room 6 came from the defendant whose company you represent. I was there. Did you see what happened behind the black glass? No. Did you see Thomas Hayes betray anyone? No. Did you see Elena's mother remove your mother? No. Did you see Victor Kane take you from the building? Yes. Was he authorized to do so? Elias paused. I believed he was. That was not my question. I don't know. Noah returned to the table. Neither did the 11-year-old child you have blamed for 30 years. Elias looked at me. For the first time, his certainty showed a fracture. Then Frost said, We have the complete recording. My mother leaned toward Noah. No, they don't. How do you know? Because Thomas destroyed it. The courtroom screen turned black. Victor Kane's face appeared. He was joining remotely. Margaret, he said, Thomas destroyed the copy you knew about. My mother's hands tightened. Kane smiled. I kept the original. Judge Rourke ordered the full recording preserved before it could be played. Kane's attorneys objected to releasing the source file to government analysts. The judge overruled them. Naomi joined remotely to examine the metadata. She identified 3 layers of editing. The clip shown to the court had removed more than 11 minutes after my statement. Kane claimed the missing section contained irrelevant medical intervention. Naomi disagreed. It contains continuous room audio, she said. Someone cut the picture, but not every background frequency. What can you hear? The judge asked. An emergency alarm, 4 adult voices, a child crying. Anything else? Naomi adjusted the sound. A faint metallic tone repeated beneath the static. 3 short pulses. 2 long, 3 short. I knew it. A field distress signal. Dad had used it when teaching Aaron and me Morse code. That was Raven 1, I said. Frost stood. Colonel Hayes is interpreting noise through childhood associations. No, Anna said. Everyone looked toward her. My father used the same signal inside our home. Frost frowned. You are not under oath. Then swear me in. Anna took the witness stand. She described her father's unauthorized child program. She described finding Atlas files at 12. She described Victor Kane abducting her after she tried to report what she had seen. Elias watched her carefully. "You remember room 6? He asked from the witness section. "Parts. Do you remember Elena accusing her father?" "Yes." His expression hardened. Anna continued. "I also remember why." The room became silent. She saw the red light behind the glass. My memory returned with painful clarity, the red glow not from the authorized camera, from a second recording device. "I pointed at it," I said. Anna nodded. Raven 1 gave the impossible route. Elena recognized it. Calling him a liar was the lockdown phrase. Elias shook his head. Kane said the phrase was Blue Lantern. Blue Lantern was the false route, Anna said. The lockdown phrase was Raven 1 is lying. Why would a child accuse her own father as a code? Because Voss trained the observers to ignore children's emotional statements. My mother answered from behind us. He believed adults dismissed children most easily when they appeared upset. Judge Rourke looked toward Kane's screen. "Mr. Kane, did you know the statement was a security phrase?" "No." He answered too quickly. Elias heard it. "Victor," he said, "you told me Elena lost control." "She did." "You told me her accusation exposed my mother." "It did." "You knew it was a code." Kane looked at him. "What matters is the result." The room entered emergency lockdown. "What happened to my mother?" Kane did not answer. Elias stood. The judge ordered him to remain seated. He ignored her. "What happened to my mother?" Frost moved toward him. "Elias, do not engage." Elias looked at his employer. The man who had given him a name, education, and career. The man who had shaped every memory after his childhood disappeared. Kane finally said, "Your mother violated protocol." "What protocol?" "She attempted to remove you before the session was complete." "So you detained her?" "I protected the cell." "Where is she?" Kane's expression did not change, but the silence answered. Elias sat slowly. Noah leaned toward me. Kane did not expect him to ask publicly. He expected the child he rescued to remain the child who owed him. The judge recessed the hearing and issued a warrant for the original room 6 archive. The server address traced to Kane Strategic Headquarters in Washington. The same address written on the back of my yearbook photograph. Fane's video connection disappeared before federal agents reached the building. But Elias remained in court. He removed his Kane Strategic Identification badge and placed it on the evidence table. "I can open the headquarters archive," he said. Frost grabbed his arm. "You are bound by attorney-client privilege." Elias looked at him. "I am also a witness to crimes committed against children." "You have no evidence." Elias faced me. "She knows where the entrance is. I have never been inside that building." "Yes, you have." He pointed toward the yearbook photograph. Room 6 was moved. The classroom beneath Franklin Academy had been dismantled after the lockdown. Kane rebuilt it inside the basement of his future headquarters. Elias had visited it every year. "It is how he reminded me what Elena supposedly did," he said. "You watched the recording repeatedly?" I asked. "Only the edited part, and the full archive." Behind the glass. The hidden observer's room, the place where Kane had stood when my father gave me the impossible route. Federal agents entered Kane's strategic headquarters at 4:20 that afternoon. Kane was gone. Most servers had been wiped. Employees claimed the executive floor had been evacuated after a security threat. Elias led us through a private elevator requiring his handprint and voice authorization. The basement did not appear on public building plans. The doors opened onto a school corridor. Children's artwork lined the walls. Small wooden desks stood inside empty classrooms. A sign above one door read, "Room 6. I stopped walking." The air smelled of chalk, dust, and the cleaning solution Franklin Academy had used when I was a child. Kane had recreated the sensory details, not for historical preservation. For conditioning, Elias stood beside me. He brought me here every December. "What happened?" He played the recording. Then he asked whether I still remembered who caused the lockdown. And you said my name. Yes. Did he reward you? He told me I was strong enough to remember the truth. He reinforced the story. I believed him. So did many adults. Elias looked at me. That does not excuse what I said in court. No. You could tell me it wasn't my fault. It wasn't your fault when you were 11. And afterward, you became his attorney. He accepted the distinction. Trauma explains choices. It does not make every later choice innocent. Naomi examined the classroom. The glass wall is still active. The black panel separated room 6 from the observation room. Elias entered a 6-digit code. The glass became transparent. Behind it stood recording equipment, archived tapes, and 3 chairs. One was larger than the others. Kane's chair. My childhood memory returned again. A shadow behind the glass. A man leaning forward when I refused Dad's instruction. My father turning his head slightly, not toward me, toward the hidden microphone. He had known Kane was listening. Naomi located the primary archive. It is encrypted. With whose identity? I asked. 3-part child authentication. Elena, Anna, Elias. Voss designed the room so the children themselves opened the archive, a final test of whether they retained their cover identities. Elias placed his hand on the first sensor. Anna touched the second. The third requested my voice. State the inconsistency. I looked through the glass toward the impossible south wall. Raven 1 is lying. The archive opened, the full recording appeared. No cuts. No missing minutes. 11-year-old Elena sat before her father. When the blue lantern appears, use the south door, Dad said. That isn't right. Repeat the instruction. The girl looked toward the wall, then toward the red glow behind the glass. The south door doesn't open. Dad remained still. Repeat it, Elena. The girl stared directly toward Kane's hidden camera. Raven 1 is lying. A silent alarm activated. The classroom doors locked. Behind the glass, a younger Victor Kane stood abruptly. Beside him was Adrienne Voss. And a third observer, Helen Ward. My mother appeared on the recording, entering through the corridor. Who activated the lockdown? Dad answered. Raven 6. Ward looked toward Kane. How did she know? Kane pointed toward the red recording light. She saw the secondary camera. Voss struck the console. The children were not supposed to know there was a second observer. Dad moved toward us. That is why this program ends now. A woman entered room 6. Elias gasped. His mother, Dr. Rachel Mercer. She ran toward him. Kane left the observation room and intercepted her in the corridor. The session is not complete, he said. They are children. They are continuity assets. My son is not an asset. Rachel reached for Elias. Kane's guards restrained her. Young Elias began crying. I left my chair and moved toward him. Dad ordered the door opened. Voss refused. Then the emergency distress signal began, 3 short pulses. 2 long, 3 short. Dad had activated an external alert. He was not calling the official command center. He was calling my mother's independent lantern team. Kane heard it. His expression changed. You contacted Margaret's people. Dad faced him. You built a prison beneath her school. I built a system that survives compromised parents. You turned their children into leverage. Ward approached Dad. Thomas, step away. No, you will destroy the entire relocation network. Then it should be destroyed. The words echoed through the reconstructed classroom. My father had chosen the children over Atlas more than 20 years before he died, trying to expose the same system. The recording continued. My mother's team entered the building. Kane's guards removed Rachel Mercer through the rear corridor. Elias screamed for her. Kane took him through another exit. Voss pulled Anna away. Dad broke the lock on room 6 and carried me into the hallway. I kept repeating. Raven 1 was lying because someone was listening. The final image showed Kane inside a vehicle with Elias. Rachel Mercer was not with them. But another camera captured her being transferred into a white medical van bearing the logo of Ward's Continuity Division. Elias pressed both hands against the glass. She was alive. Yes, Naomi said. Where did they take her? The archive index opened. Rachel's file appeared. Asterisk, identity, closed December 6. Transport authority, Helen Ward to fact. Elias turned toward me. My mother is alive. At the time of the last update, Naomi said. When was that? 4 months ago. He looked as though every structure inside him had collapsed at once. For 30 years, Kane had allowed him to believe Elena's words caused his mother's death. In reality, Elena's words triggered the only rescue attempt that kept Rachel alive, long enough to enter the relocation system. I had not betrayed my father. I had followed his warning, and the boy who hated me had spent 3 decades serving the man who stole his mother. A new file appeared on the screen. Asterisk automatic playback. Raven 6 returned. Victor Kane appeared inside the observation room. The recording had been made less than an hour earlier. Welcome back, Elena. I looked toward the ceiling cameras. He was watching live, Kane continued. You have now authenticated every surviving child cell. Naomi's face changed. What did we open? She checked the network the Room 6 archive was transmitting, not outward to investigators, across Kane's remaining system. Our 3 identities activated a retrieval protocol, she said. For what? Elias stared at the screen. The children. Room 6 had not been the only child cell. There were 12. Each contained children connected to compromised military witnesses, intelligence officers, or contractors. Most were eventually returned to relatives with altered memories and false explanations. 6 had been placed under new identities. 3 were listed as deceased. 2 remained unaccounted for. The final cell had never closed. Room 1. Active. Kane's playback continued. Ward believed children were liabilities. Voss believed they were experiments. Margaret believed they could be protected. He smiled. I understood that children become adults who will do anything to preserve the story that allowed them to survive. The archive displayed current profiles: judges, military officers, corporate attorneys, doctors, members of Congress, adults, who had once been Atlas children and did not know it. Kane had built influence through people whose childhood identities he controlled. Some served him knowingly. Others had been guided through anonymous threats, donations, or fabricated family records. He does not own institutions, Elias whispered. He raised people inside them. Naomi attempted to stop the retrieval protocol. It is sending wake messages to every active former child. What kind of message? The same type Marcus's recorder sent. Personal codes, images, voices from childhood, enough to destabilize them and force them to contact Kane. He is rebuilding his network, Anna said. No, I replied. I watched the profiles activating across the screen. He is calling everyone home. Kane's voice continued. Your parents gave you new lives. I preserved the original versions. A final address appeared, an abandoned boarding school in Northern Virginia. Asterisk Room 1 reunion, 8:09 p.m. The message had gone to all active child profiles. We have 3 hours, Naomi said. To stop them attending, Elias asked, to learn what Kane wants once they arrive. Noah contacted the federal task force. The response came back 10 minutes later. No tactical operation would be approved. Several judges named in the Room 6 archive had already issued injunctions questioning the archive's legality. One former child now worked inside the Justice Department. Another supervised the agency responsible for the Kane investigation. The call home message was working, not because every former child served Kane, because they feared what their hidden histories with their family histories would do to their families and careers. One official ordered the Room 6 files sealed. Another requested my immediate detention for unlawful access to protected juvenile records. Kane had built a defense stronger than armed guards. Shame. At 6:15, federal officers arrived to remove me from the building. Their patches were authentic. Their order was valid. Judge Rourke had not signed it. A different federal judge had name. Honorable Sarah Whitmore, Room 4, former Atlas child. The lead officer approached. Colonel Hayes, surrender your weapon and identification. Naomi stepped between us. Her access to this facility was authorized by a federal warrant. That warrant has been stayed, based on evidence issued after we entered. Take it up with the court. Elias looked toward me. If they arrest you, Kane gets the reunion. If we resist, he proves Atlas children are unstable threats. What do we do? I removed my sidearm. Then my identification. The officer appeared surprised. I handed them to him. You're under temporary detention pending competency review. I understand. Elias grabbed my arm. You cannot let them take you. They are not taking me. I looked toward Noah. They are taking the public version of me. He understood. Elena Hayes will comply, he said. Raven 6 remains outside the order. The officer frowned. What does that mean? It means my client is requesting civilian clothes before transport. There was no legal reason to refuse. Inside the private changing room, I removed my uniform. Naomi gave me a maintenance jacket and an archive employee's badge. Anna left through the service tunnel, carrying my red beret inside her bag. Noah emerged with another blonde officer, wearing my uniform jacket beneath a transport blanket. From the hallway cameras, it appeared I had entered custody. The real Elena Hayes left through the same archive passage my father had used 21 years earlier. The institution saw what its order expected to see. Kane had taught systems to follow names. My parents had taught me that sometimes survival began by stepping outside one. The boarding school had been abandoned for 15 years. At 7:50, more than 30 vehicles stood in the parking lot. The adults who entered did not look like victims. They looked powerful. A federal judge, a hospital director, 2 retired officers, a state senator, a technology executive, a television journalist. Elias recognized several Kane strategic clients. Anna recognized a woman who had visited her childhood home under another name. Every person carried a different memory of why they had been invited. Some believed Kane would destroy their careers. Some believed he held evidence their parents were traitors. Some had come because a childhood voice begged them not to abandon someone again. We entered through the former kitchen. Naomi monitored the building's internal network from a service room. Noah remained outside with Rebecca Lane and independent federal marshals. Judge Rourke had personally authorized, after reviewing the full Room 6 recording, they could not raid the building without risking accusations of political intimidation. They could secure anyone who voluntarily requested protection. That distinction mattered. Rowan 1 was an old auditorium. 34 adults sat in children's school chairs arranged in a circle. At the center stood Victor Kane. No bodyguards, no visible weapon. He did not need them. Every person in the room believed he held the private story capable of destroying their public life. Kane looked toward the side entrance. I wondered whether you would come as Colonel Hayes or Raven 6. I stepped into the light. Neither. Then who are you? Elena, he smiled. Your parents worked hard to make that answer sound simple. Kane addressed the room. This woman opened the archive that has now exposed all of you. Several people turned toward me. A judge named Robert Vale stood. My identity was legally protected. It still is, I said. My childhood medical files are circulating across federal servers. Kane activated them. You authenticated the archive. Yes, the truth angered them more than denial would have. A hospital director spoke. My children do not know I was adopted. You decide whether to tell them. Do I? Your investigation has already placed my original name in evidence." Kane watched quietly. He wanted me to defend the institution, to tell them exposure was necessary, to sound exactly like Ward. "I cannot promise nothing will change," I said. The room became quiet. "I cannot promise your careers. Marriages or families will remain untouched. I can promise Kane no longer gets to decide what the truth means." Kane laughed. "You brought them uncertainty. I gave them stable lives. You gave them lives with a threat hidden beneath every achievement. I never threatened most of them. You never needed to. You kept the original files." A woman near the rear stood. "My father told me Kane saved us." "Perhaps he did," I said. Kane's smile widened. "Even I had acknowledged his value," I continued. "Saving someone once does not grant ownership forever." The smile disappeared. Elias entered the auditorium. Kane stared at him. "You should not be here. You invited every active child. You are not active. You kept my mother alive." A reaction moved through the room. Kane looked toward the stage. "Helen Ward transferred her. Under your program. I did not order her death. You told me Elena caused it. Elena caused the lockdown. Because Thomas Hayes warned her you were listening." Kane's composure weakened. Only slightly. Elias held up the full Room 6 recording. "You built my entire life around an edited tape. I gave you a life. You gave me a debt. I educated you. With money earned from selling witnesses. I protected you from Richard Mercer. You made me work for his partner." Kane's voice sharpened. "Your father would have used you more brutally than I ever did." "Perhaps." Elias looked toward me. "But Elena did not ask me to owe her for telling the truth." Anna entered beside him. Then Naomi activated the auditorium screen. The complete Room 6 recording began playing. The adults watched 3 children being tested. They watched Kane argue that they were continuity assets. They watched Thomas Hayes order the program closed. They watched Margaret's team attempt a rescue. Then Naomi displayed files from the other rooms. Edited recordings. Invented betrayals. Foul death notices. Each adult had been told that another child, parent or officer caused their family's collapse. Kane isolated them by assigning blame before they were old enough to question it. Judge Sarah Whitmore stepped forward. "You told me my mother surrendered me voluntarily." Kane looked at her. She signed the transfer. Naomi displayed the full document. Whitmore's mother had signed a temporary medical protection agreement. Kane's division later replaced the second page with a permanent identity closure. The judge's face changed. "You altered it. I preserved your placement. You stole me. I prevented your father's enemies from finding you. You became one of them." Another former child stood, then another. The circle changed. People who entered afraid of one another began looking toward the man who had authored each fear. Kane understood before anyone spoke. His influence existed only while every person believed they were alone. Room 1 had gathered them, but it had also allowed them to compare stories. "You think this is revenge?" he asked me. "No." I looked around the auditorium. "This is attendance." My mother had used the phrase when she exposed his network. Every student deserved to be seen. Every missing name counted. Kane moved toward the rear exit. The doors locked, not by federal agents, by Judge Whitmore. She had used the building order system Kane once taught her to access. "You are not leaving," she said. He looked at her. "You signed the stay on Colonel Hayes' warrant." "I did." "You protected this meeting." "I protected the people inside it from an unlawful raid." She stepped closer. "I did not protect you." Kane reached inside his coat. Elias moved first. He caught Kane's wrist. A compact pistol fell onto the stage. No dramatic gunfight followed, no collapsing building, no final speech from a dying villain. 34 adults simply stood between Victor Kane and every exit. For decades, he had controlled them one at a time. He had no plan for all of them together. Independent marshals entered through the side doors. Kane looked at me as they placed him in restraints. You believe they'll thank you when their lives begin collapsing? No. Then why do this? Because gratitude was never the price of their freedom. He smiled one final time. You still sound like Raven 1. I looked toward the complete recording of my father standing inside room 6. No. I faced Kane. He sounded like me. Victor Kane was charged with kidnapping, unlawful detention, identity fraud, conspiracy, evidence tampering, and crimes connected to the Atlas facilities. His attorneys attempted to suppress the Room 6 archive. Judge Whitmore recused herself from the case and submitted her own childhood file as evidence. Elias Grant resigned from Kane Strategic and entered a cooperation agreement. He did not ask for immunity. I spent 20 years protecting the company, he told the prosecutor. I will accept what that means. His cooperation revealed the location of Rachel Mercer. She lived under a protected identity in Oregon. For 30 years, Kane had told her that Elias died during the Room 6 evacuation. Their reunion occurred in a private hospital garden. Rachel recognized him through the scar beside his eye. He had received it at 6 when he fell from a bicycle. She touched it before touching his face. My boy, she whispered. Elias began crying like the child he had never been permitted to remain. My mother watched from a distance. This does not repair what we did, she said. No, it is still worth doing, yes. Anna recovered the original file, showing her father created the child cell protocol. Adrian Voss had not entered the program, intending to harm his daughter. He believed testing children would reveal weaknesses in replacement identities before enemies found them. He called it prevention, like Ward called control continuity, like Kane called ownership protection. Language changed. The outcome remained the same. Adults made decisions, children carried them. The federal court established an independent Atlas Family Commission. Former children and relocated witnesses. Controlled disclosure of their own records. Not military officers, not intelligence directors. Not me. My provisional command authority over Atlas was terminated at my request. The panel chair asked whether I wanted to preserve emergency access. No. You may be the only person trusted by every surviving cell. That is exactly why I should not control them. What happens during a crisis? They choose representatives. And if they choose you, then I serve until they choose someone else. Rank is authority given by institutions' trust. Trust is authority that can be withdrawn. I had spent my career understanding the first. Atlas taught me the second. 1 month after Kane's arrest, Franklin Academy reopened as a legal support center for relocated military families. The underground archive remained sealed under independent control. Room 6 was not destroyed. Former Atlas children voted to preserve it. Not as an operational site, as evidence of what adults can justify when children are described as assets. I visited the classroom alone. The metal chairs had been removed. The black glass remained. I stood where my 11-year-old self had sat. My mother entered quietly. You used to hate closed doors, she said. I still do. You became good at opening them. Usually after someone nearly kills us. She almost smiled. Then her expression became serious. I owe you an apology that cannot be completed in one conversation. That is true. I told myself burying the memory allowed you to have a normal childhood. Did I? More normal than Anna or Elias. That is not the same as normal. No. I looked toward the impossible south wall. Did Dad agree to the treatment? At first. And later, he regretted it. Is that why he gave Marcus my call sign? Yes. He wanted me to remember. He wanted you to have the choice. He still made the first decision without me. You were 11. And when I was 28? My mother did not answer. That was the point. Children cannot make every decision. But parents must eventually return what they borrowed. The truth, the choice and ownership of the life that follows. Anna entered carrying the original yearbook photograph. Elias followed her. "We found something," he said. He placed the photograph beneath the classroom light. 3 children appeared clearly: Anna, Elias, me. But beneath the edge of the photograph was part of another person's hand. The original image had been cropped. Naomi restored the missing section from the film archive. A 4th child stood outside the frame. A girl slightly older than us, dark hair, gray eyes. On her sweater was a handwritten label. Raven. My mother's face lost its color. "Who is she?" I asked. Margaret did not answer. Elias turned the photograph over. A message had been written beneath the backing, not in Dad's handwriting, in Victor Kane's. St. Room 6 was not built to test Elena. Below it, it was built to find out which child remembered. Ravenza. Anna looked toward my mother. "Do you know her?" My mother sat in one of the empty observer chairs. "Yes. Who is she?" Margaret looked at me. Her name was Claire. Was? She was the first Atlas child. What happened to her? She disappeared before room 6. Why would Voss test us about someone who was already missing? Because Claire knew where the original Atlas archive was hidden. And did one of us remember her? My mother looked toward the black glass. You did. A new memory moved beneath the surface of my mind, a dark-haired girl holding my hand in a school hallway, a locked red door, her voice whispering. "When they ask who Raven 1 is, do not say Thomas Hayes." I gripped the desk. Who was Raven 1 before Dad? My mother's eyes filled with fear. Claire's mother, where is she now? The classroom speaker activated. A woman's voice came through the system, older, calm, unhewn, yet somehow familiar. Raven 6. Victor Kane was never the last person watching room 6. The black glass became transparent. Behind it stood a woman with dark hair and gray eyes. She looked almost exactly like the missing child in the photograph. She placed one hand against the glass. "My name is Claire," my mother stood. "That's impossible." Claire looked directly at me. "Thomas Hayes did not create your childhood cover." She smiled faintly. "I did. Every light in Franklin Academy went out. And the red door from my memory opened for the first time."